you be spending this Christmas?
Oh, I shall be singing my heart out. I shall be in church, full of the most enormous joy, singing and also hugging and greeting people and reevaluating, really, what's happened this year in the world and reevaluating the place that I can play in it, too, for what's to come. I think Christmas ought to be a time of recalibration, so that we throw ourselves back into the struggle, because it's a very serious struggle we're in, both personally and politically.
Yes, I think we all need a bit of recalibration, Neil.
Yeah, Gavin, it's great to see you again. Always good to hear your voice and your message. Like a lot of people, I receive a lot of letters throughout the year and a lot of Christmas cards this year in particular. And so many people declaring how much their faith has meant to them over the last couple of years. And I wonder to what extent you think there is a resurgence of Christianity at the moment, especially worth discussing at this Christmas time of all times.
I think I'd certainly say, looking back over the past few decades, things have got darker. The partition between good and evil, light and darkness, hope and despair seems to be growing more intense. And the reason that matters is that you have to do something about it. You get caught up in it. I think in a strange paradoxical way, as the church is empty, as some of the church leaders appear to give up on the struggle, it brings an extra focus to the importance of finding a way of renewing faith, renewing humanity, renewing the church. We're in a time of very serious cultural crisis. No one knows quite how it's going to work out. There are some fairly worrying narratives out there, but we're struggling for freedom, for democracy, for the integrity of the individual, and to save a dying culture from collapsing in on itself. And I don't think people realize quite how serious the collapse is going to be and what the consequences are. So yes, it's Christmas, and yes, we celebrate with all the usual cultural accoutrements, but right at the heart of it, it's an invitation, I think, to look 23 fairly in the face and say, we've got to step up to the mark morally, spiritually, philosophically as well.
I'm terribly sorry if viewers and listeners at home just heard some carols. My brilliant guest to my left was just playing some Christmas carols. I think he was tracking Santa on his phone, so I'm terribly sorry to interrupt. Neil, take it away.
No, I'm interested in whether, Gavin, you think that the casual erosion of Christianity in this country, might be in the spotlight somewhat. It's traditional almost every year to say, oh, we mustn't say Merry Christmas, we should say, season's greetings or happy holidays or whatever. And that, piece by piece, there's been an enervating erosion of Christianity for the whole of my lifetime, I would say. And I wonder if the time has come for faith leaders to be a little bit more lion and less of the lamb about all of this.
It's long past the time that they should have stood up. I watched a woman being arrested by the British police today for saying a prayer on the street in Birmingham. The thought that the fact we've moved from thought crime to treating prayer as something you can be criminalised for means that things are very much more serious than they look. This has been developing under our noses for some time. Many of us have been speaking out about it. I think one of the things that seriously disappoints me is that the people who have been charged with the responsibility of guarding our freedoms, guarding our democracy, guarding our faith, guarding the integrity of the individual person, they're asleep on the job or they're scared. But they should wake up, because a whole culture and civilization depends upon this. You cannot have people locked up for saying a prayer on the silently, just being suspected of saying a prayer on the streets of Birmingham.
It is amazing footage, that Isabel Vaughan Spruce, I think the name of the lady in question. And when you hear her being asked, is she praying? And she says, well, I might have been in my head, but there are also times when my thoughts drift to what I'm having for my tea tonight. So I couldn't actually say if I was praying in the exact moment when I attracted your attention. And that was enough to see her arrested. And I wonder why it always feels here in where the largest religion is Christianity, that it's Christianity that's always the target in a way that perhaps other faiths are not ridiculed, run down and seen as a soft bet for that kind of abuse.
I think there are two reasons. One has to deal always with the practical as well as the metaphysical. I think practically speaking, it's because Christians are trained not to retaliate. You don't have Christians throwing bombs at people. You don't have Christians cutting people's throats or resorting to knives and weapons. It's against our religion. You're not a Christian if you do it. That's the first thing. I think the other thing is that there's a very profound struggle between good and evil going on. I have been a practicing Christian for 40 years. I'm a skeptical kind of person. I don't believe easily. But growing up reading Solzhenitsyn, I'm convinced that we're in the middle of a very, very serious struggle between good and evil. And if Christ is the way, the truth, and the life, if he is God come to rescue people, if he is the healing of our souls and our hearts, then it's no surprise that all that is evil will come against him and those who stand with him. And that seems to me to be exactly what we're experiencing at the moment. I mean, why is it that when people curse and swear, they only use the word of Jesus surrounded by a few F words? You don't hear them using language from other religions. It's as if Christ really is the most holy, the most beautiful, the most powerful, and therefore gets the most despoiled and blasphemed. So we're in a struggle between good and evil, and Christianity is the one thing, I would say Jesus rather than Christianity, because I believe in personalizing it rather than a system or a religion. But Jesus is the one thing that stands between us and the darkness, and that's why he comes under attack from the dark side.